How do you balance real, authentic testimonies with planned narrative B-roll? Today we're going to be talking to Haley, Rossi, and Kevin Lohrmann about their new project, which is a promo for the Word of Life curriculum from Augustine Institute, where we had to have real interviews with people who actually use the curriculum, but also have some pretty specific story beats we needed to cover. How do you balance it? How do you make it all work? That's what we're going to be talking about today. Welcome to Heralds and Fools, the podcast where we talk shop. We talk about client projects, passion projects, the nitty-gritty details of what makes creative life so fun. So today I want to talk to you guys about the new promo you did for the Augustine Institute for their Word of Life curriculum they did with Ignatius Press. We worked with Firebreaker, another agency in the space. And I think what was interesting about the project is that it was both, it's like that weird intermediate between documentary style and a planned promo, like a narrative promo. So let's watch it and then we'll dive in.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Children come into faith with innocence. That openness, that creativity, the idea to believe in something that we cannot see. In our world, we see a lot that really can make people feel discouraged, even despair. We have a very limited amount of time to make a great impact.
Word of Life is founded on truth, the beautiful truth of our Catholic faith. And throughout all of the facets of the curriculum, it brings the authentic teaching of the Catholic faith to the child, to the teacher, and to the family.
Since starting the Word of Life program, lesson planning has become easier because everything's available to you in one spot. I'm able to use the digital component daily, and it's enhanced my lessons. It's also enhanced the students' understanding. They are more willing to answer the questions and raise their hand and participate.
There's a joyfulness that they come in with, and there's a joyfulness when they leave. You start to see those seeds take root, and it starts to flourish.
We see that being reaffirmed in our young people every single time, every single year that they encounter the Word of Life curriculum, whether it is in the religious education program or in our Catholic elementary school.
It's life-giving. It helps people develop into who God created them to be in the first place. By utilizing the curriculum, we're going to develop very strong Catholic men and women.
Cool. Good job.
Right. Thanks.
So Haley, you directed this, concepted it. Kevin, you shot this, DP. So talk to me about, I think there's people come in with projects and sometimes the vision isn't fully clear, but they have some firm ideas. How did you come up with the concept of doing it the sort of middle way, and why?
Yeah, so the client had come in with a decent amount of legwork done in the content that they wanted. Like Fusati basically gave us a storyboard.
Okay.
And so they had stuff pretty fleshed out, but they were open to us interpreting that.
Yeah.
And giving it our
zest or
and kind of actualizing on it.
That's cool. So Fusati is a great marketing agency. They work a lot with clients like ours. And so they had the broad strokes of what needed to be communicated for the program.
Yeah.
And then your job was to take it, make it more cinematic, make it all fall into line.
Yeah. And then in addition to that, figure out how to practically actually make it happen within scope of, timeline, budget, etc.
Right.
For them, it was really important for there to be authentic testimonials about the program.
Okay.
They didn't want to fabricate it. They didn't really want it to be scripted. They wanted that really authentic feeling and that ability to hear real life people talking about how it impacted their parish and their school. So with that, it kind of eliminated us from doing something that was scripted, fully narrated,
fully planned,
fully planned out, more narrative type of an approach.
But it also gives you the challenge. It also gives you the challenge of saying, okay, we want these raw testimonies, but also we have a story that we want to do that's already decided.
Yeah. So it was we want authentic, unscripted testimonies to be the base of the like narration.
Yeah.
But then they did have a very clear vision of wanting this cohesive story told of a child who is wondering, is exploring life, and is interacting with the faith through the Word of Life curriculum. And so that was also a really important element, so that it's can we find that real kid? Like, does that real kid exist and we can interview his parents, or do we have to kind of...
And he's going to be able to do what we want him to do.
And available for 4 full days out of school, what that was. So that was a conversation we had, and kind of had to weigh the pros and cons of going in with, actors, or trying to find a real family. Do we find a real parish? Do we rent a space? Like, all of those things were conversations we were having, both internally and then kind of like presenting our findings to the client and giving them the final.
Totally. What made you, because I remember early in the conversations, we were kind of going around about all of the different options, because really the categories break down to what you're talking about. It's like, you take a long time finding a real kid impacted by this, whose family can do the testimony and also can be good on camera. Or it's really finding the actors and then embedding them within a real world. Because that's another thing we should say too. It's not like what this does, and I want to talk to you about this too, is it balances the narrative shots with the documentary style shots. Like, you have those real, presumably real classrooms, right?
Yeah.
What tilted you in the final direction of saying, we're going to use actors, we're going to have this all be staged, we'll get locations? What was that final thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it came down to the priorities of the client really wanting that authentic testimony, which I really think, like, with how it ended up, was the right call. Like, you can really feel that heart and soul and the believability. Like, it's authentic, it's truthful what they're saying, and they believe it.
Yeah, it's not here at Word of Life, we believe in this, and you're gonna love it.
Yeah, it's like, you're not being told what to think, you're being shown through this emotion. So it was that, and then we also had found a location. Word of Life had reached out to a parish and school that used their program and had been for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And so kind of the pieces just kind of started to fall into place, and they had a DRE who was super jazzed and very enthusiastic about it and willing to be on camera and willing to find us, a classroom to film in. And the parish was also, just very welcoming to the idea of us coming and invading their space for 3 days.
Which is not, okay, so that's like actually one of the most difficult things is getting shooting done at a school. And that's a whole, that we can talk about that too.
Yeah.
So you have this battle plan, you have your cast, you cast your family, you get this location. When you're shooting the documentary style stuff with the narrative stuff with the classroom, did you run those classroom sets? Were those weren't real classes, or were they real classes that you embedded yourself in?
Real. Yeah.
The second grade classroom was a real classroom. Like, we stepped in there, I think we had a total of 30 minutes in there, and we, obviously talked to the teacher beforehand, that she knew we were coming, and she really just let us into her space, and we brought in, our equipment, brought in, a light or two to help, balance out the window light coming in. And I think one of the approaches that Kevin and I talked about was kind of how do we, because it was really important for us to show both the school implementation of Word of Life as well as the parish implementation, which are two, one is happening outside of the school in a CCD program. The other is happening like in an actual Catholic school setting. And so we knew we were going to be able to fabricate the CCD parish side of things with our actors.
Yeah.
But the school we had to do like live. We weren't going to be able to pull people in on a weekend, so we knew we were going to have limited control over that. So Kevin and I had talked a lot about how do we kind of find the medium of both. So we made sure that we didn't approach the stage stuff in a crazy cinematic way. We even approached that in a, we're going to build a scene and let the actors kind of carry it and shoot around what they're doing in kind of a doc style. So that allowed us to match it really well with this live action that we had to do of a real classroom happening.
No, I think you guys did a great job. Did you have any specific like sort of strategies or like way you lit anything, or was it relying on natural light? How did you sort of approach that?
Well, kind of depend on like the scene. There was, I guess like, the initial, as Haley was saying, like we have like, melding the two of like the planned out shots where we have actors and like time to actually prep versus like the doc. I think it was just the classroom that was the only like documentary style.
Yeah, the second grade classroom was really the most kind of event capture type scenario we were in.
Okay.
And everything else was
Staged.
in some way staged and fabricated.
Mm-hmm. And luckily we had a lot of control over that classroom. We were able to be like, hey, the teacher was working with us a lot. Awesome. As far as like, we were like, hey, can you do this with the kids? Can like, hey, you kid, can you write down your book and whatnot?
I've literally been on set with like universities and they're with less control.
Yeah.
Also, they're in college, so kids have their own minds in college.
I mean, I think that was just like one of the huge things is we went and did a location scout to this school a couple weeks before.
Mm-hmm.
And just meeting the people, it was like they were excited about it. That
awesome.
was like the first sign that it's like, okay, we can kind of push the limits a little bit. Like we don't have to be complete fly on the walls. We can ask for what we ideally want and they'll tell us whether or not it's possible.
Yeah,
and in most cases, they were willing to make it happen. I think, for example, the mass footage that we shot in the church, that was all staged.
Yeah.
So they called the staff from the parish office. They called some families in who were picking up their kids from school and just kind of filled the congregation. And obviously we had to strategically place them to make it feel, fleshed out. And there were only so many angles we could, shoot to make it not feel like it was an empty. Yeah.
I mean, there was like definitely like, as you were saying with like the narrative style stuff that we did, the planned out shots, we kind of like brought those down to a little bit more of a documentary style. But I think as well with the classroom, which was actually documentary style as far as how we were capturing it, we were elevating that a little bit. So we kind of like met in the middle with both like the planned out narrative stuff and like the documentary style stuff. Because like in the classroom, we only shot on a data dolly.
Okay.
Like we didn't do, I don't think we did any handheld.
We did. We had, Gigi was running around.
Okay.
So we did have
some.
We did have some.
Only shot on
I only shot on a data dolly. I was shooting, because like it obviously took more work for every shot and we couldn't get as many shots, but it just lent itself to some like really nice
it's a little
controlled
more control
shot
than you have usually.
Yeah, a little bit more control. And I think it was just like the intentionality in that I think was there.
Yeah.
And it wasn't something we went in being, we have to do this. We were like, we'd really like to be able to if the opportunity and the scenario presents itself. And we introduced ourselves to the class and the kids were great. And the teacher was, just awesome. So
dude, it's so funny because like we rock some pretty big cameras here, which is annoying because I remember back in the day we had this on the tripod. We used to have this little tripod dolly we'd put it on top of there sometimes, and the little cameras, you could pick up those little shots so quick and just run around.
Yeah.
But so what did you tech wise, what was the setup on this?
So we shot on the Raptor and the Komodo on just our Canon CNEs.
Cool. It looks good.
We also threw most of the shots initially, we were thinking just to try to diffuse it a bit. I think for only the second grade class, we had like a pro mist on there.
Oh, cool.
And after that, though,
that's also elevating a little bit.
Yeah, giving a little bit of stylistic control over it.
It was after that, though. I think that was the only scene I had like a pro mist on there because I think we both kind of quickly realized like this is too much diffusion. And we backed off a little bit. I jumped to the glimmer glass that we have. So just a tiny bit more softness to cut down on the CNE's sharpness.
I'm gonna like with how much we've talked about on all the podcasts of like trying to mess up the CNEs with like more diffusions. It's gonna be like a month from now we're gonna be on a podcast and it's like then I took a hammer to the CNEs and like cracked the glass to like make it look better.
Yeah, hey, that sounds like a fun idea. I won't do that. I promise.
So how did the shooting go? You had 4.5. You had 4.5 days. Is that right?
We had 4 days.
Okay.
So we had to work around like the school schedule, and then of course because we were interviewing real people who had real jobs, we had to work around their schedules. And I think one of the challenges with filming at a school is like their noise, but also just like their hours. Like they're normally there at like 6 a.m, and then like people dip out at 3 or 4. So we had to try and get a ton of stuff in this short period of time. We were trying to get all of our interviews on that first day, both because that was our heaviest lift from a gear perspective, and also we wanted to have the content. Yeah. I wanted to, as the director, wanted to have heard that content and had that help influence some of the footage that we captured the rest of the 3 days. So we did, first day was at the school. We interviewed the DRE, the pastor, got all the B-roll in the classroom of the second grade, and then also interviewed the teacher. So that was all day one. And so we had we honed in our interview setup and had to move that around to 3 different locations. And
what was the interview setup?
I don't know. You want to talk to that?
All the bells and whistles?
We had a lot of bells and whistles. I think it was as far as lighting, kind of what were the interviews?
I think we did like the book light, but we like mounted it all in one stand, so it was really mobile.
Yes. We did.
Talk about that booklight setup, because a lot of people think of a booklight, they don't think of that.
You bounce your source, you push your source into a bounce, and then have that go through a diffusion. Okay. So it's probably depending on like the level of diffusion that you have on there, it's one of the softest sources you can create. Just because it basically is the best way to fill up a diffusion. Because otherwise, if you push a point source directly in diffusion, you're only filling up a certain amount. And also the nature of most point sources is that it's going to be brighter in the middle than it is on the outside. So you're just not getting an even spread throughout the entire diffusion. Yeah. Whereas a booklight, you hit it off of a bounce that fills up the entire diffusion. You get really soft light. The setup that Kerwin set up for us, which was great because it was really portable. Essentially, I don't know how to describe this but basically it was all within one C-stand. Okay. So we basically attached our LED point source onto the leg of the C-stand, had to shoot up into an ultra bounce, and clipped the diffusion onto the end. It was a floppy diffusion? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sorry. Floppy ultra bounce. So, and he clipped the diffusion onto the top of the ultra bounce, had that hang. So light was shooting into the ultra bounce and through the diffusion, and then he just blacked out the sides. So
it's literally my favorite. It's like one of my favorite setups.
Yeah.
I've done that before too. And it's just like the amount of like power that little light setup has is so good. Yeah. To the point where I spent days doodling during meetings trying to figure out how to build that effectively as like a 1 unit item.
Which you could if you cut your diffusion to the same size as the floppy, then you probably could fold it in there.
Yeah. And then I was looking up fabricators and trying to figure it out because I just love
it's so good. That. It was so. I don't think one of the things we talked about, and one of the I just love very naturalistic lighting. Yeah. We wanted this to feel kind of in that authentic realm of, we didn't want it to look like it was staged or was shot in a studio. We wanted it to feel very much like it was shot in the environment, specifically talking about the interviews where it was happening. So we filmed the pastor in the church. We filmed the DRE in her classroom, and we filmed the second grade teacher in her classroom. And I don't think we really used much to light the background. We kind of let the environment do most of the work.
There was so much sunlight that was coming through both the church and the classroom.
Yeah, we really like lucked out with.
It feels like the video
day.
feels a little bit like a perpetual dawn and a perpetual sunset sort of video.
Yeah, that was just luck of the draw, honestly.
Really, that's
a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I think too, we had in planning it out, knowing we had a pretty clear vision of what we wanted the full finished piece to look like, what scenes we wanted incorporated.
Mm-hmm.
But there was also part of the contract was some micro content.
Mm-hmm.
And we weren't 100% sure because that was going to be based off of, all of this is based off of the live interviews and the testimonies that we're recording, that we don't know exactly what sound bites we're going to get.
Yeah,
so totally. We wanted to give ourselves the flexibility if there was a really good sound bite that we'd have a couple options for, B-roll scenes to put in.
Mm-hmm.
So we ended up shooting a lot more B-roll scenes that ended up in the piece. So we shot a bunch of stuff, and with the intention of, even when I was directing the actors, I really wanted them to feel like it was their space and that it was their home and their family and their dinner table and their, and so we had one or two stage shots that we were trying to get, and we used the dolly in a couple instances, but otherwise I was just like, just live. I play pretend, because the client really wanted that authenticity. And so it was cool to see the actors play off of each other. And it was a mom, a dad, and 3 kids. So there was a lot of potential, and there ended up being a lot of dynamism between them, and some good chemistry that we were able to, I think, capture.
No, I think it turned out good. I think there's probably a misconception. I know there's a misconception talking to people when you're talking about doing a short piece like this, that it means like, oh, we'll get in there, we'll get some interviews, it'll be quick, interview for half an hour, and then and then you'll have enough. That's never the case.
No,
because
never.
you have to have time with the people you're interviewing to get comfortable, and then you have to have time to have people say the wrong things and then slightly steer things. And how many, how long were your interviews, and how many interviews did you have to do for that?
I think we did 3 interviews total.
Okay.
And I think they were probably averaged around 45 minutes to an hour, depending on, the scenario. We had a little bit longer with the DRE. She had a more flexible schedule. Teacher had to get so there were some other, elements that we were dealing with schedule-wise, but that's
probably minimally viable for a project
like
this.
Yeah. I mean, it was, I wouldn't say we had a hard time finding good sound bites. I think they all kind of came together, but there's always that desire for, a little bit more. And the longer you go, I'd say historically, my experience is you use more of the end of an interview than you do at the beginning. And I'll find myself re-asking questions that I asked at the beginning once they're kind of warmed up and have forgotten about the camera and have forgotten about trying to script what they previously tried to think through. That just that authenticity really comes through the more comfortable they get with you and the camera and the scenario. So
there's a once in a blue moon interview I'll get where it'll be the first 10 minutes someone will say something awesome, but it's a very rare thing. And normally my disposition is you throw out the first 20 minutes of any interview. There's almost no point, because it's literally like you said, it's like, oh, how's my hair? Oh, are you sure? Am I doing okay? Once they get comfortable with the interviewer, then it's like, you're right, the cameras disappear. And then usually it's the last 2 minutes, all of a sudden gold comes out. And it's and they're like, cool, we got it.
I mean, I always I'll sit there and it's I'll keep talking with the person until my producer is like, we gotta go, or it's I have everything I need, which normally it's the first versus the last. But I'm sitting there thinking about, how is this gonna edit together? Do I have that sound bite? Have they, what are those elements that the client has as non-negotiables that end up in the piece? Do I have something that is cohesive enough that works out of context of the whole story she just told, or the whole, scenario? So
my favorite hack, which I do sometimes, is where I have most of it. I think I've got it, but then I'm I bet this person has more. Then I'll be like, that's all my questions. That's great. Because it's technically all my questions. That's all my questions. That's great. Anyone else have any questions? And then no one does, usually. Someone might throw a question. Anyone else have a question? No. oh, you know what? And then you just start again. And for some reason, like that restart, like we have it, we're cool, we're done. And then that restart, for some reason, people say some really cool stuff.
It's almost that like the equivalent of being like, okay, cut. And then they're like, yeah, I love the Word of Life program,
Yes,
and they just
exactly.
like relax and they just start actually speaking from the heart versus from their like,
Yeah. The other interview hack you have to do, and this took me forever to get, is just shut up.
Mm-hmm.
Just shut up. Because I would clip over people all the time.
Oh, yeah. It's the most frustrating thing as an editor to be like, oh, God, just don't say anything.
Yeah. I've learned how to just say, like, just enough. And like, that's really good. Like, I've learned the level of my voice where I can give them enough feedback.
Mm-hmm.
But
because you have to be engaged.
You
Like
have
you have to have it.
Yep.
They have to think it's a conversation. They have to think it's a back and forth. They have to like
Mhm.
feel like you're paying attention. And so it is that always like, you'll just, I don't know.
Also being like really comfortable with like extended eye contact.
Yeah.
Like, because some people, like, you realize this, like, most of the time with people like you're like interacting with, you're not like you're not like locked in the whole time. There's some,
I had one gentleman I was interviewing once, and he just like he couldn't get it. He'd like stumble, he'd like start on a really good trail and then just like lose it. And I can't remember if I suggested it, but I was like, would it help if I just like didn't look at you? Like, and he was like, yeah, if you could actually just close your eyes, that'd be perfect. So
What?
And he was great. Like, I closed my eyes. I didn't make eye contact with him the whole interview, and he did phenomenal. But I was like, it was bizarre.
How did you know to ask that?
I don't like, there was something like, I don't know if like he was kind of like searching to try and like find something else and was just really, I don't know if it was a condition or just a like stage frighty type thing, but like
Interesting.
the second, like no one else had to close their eyes on set. Everyone else could watch him, but like me as the interviewee, I had to like close my eyes. And it was a really interesting, like I was still engaged in like nodding and visually responding to him, but like no eye contact.
Dude, that is
it was
wild.
fascinating.
That is wild. I thought I had been in. I thought I'd like, I've interviewed, I've been in nuances. I've never had one of those. And I just try it for fun. Just to like
do the
just
next
close
podcast
with
all of our eyes closed.
Yeah, so tell me. That's amazing. Well, I think the interviews turned out really good. How was editing process? Renee edited this.
Yeah, Renee edited it. Yeah, I mean, overall, I think the hardest part was like choice fatigue. Like we had so much good footage because I think that's the one of the downsides of not having a really specific shot list and kind of like a pre-edited sequence of clips that you're going for.
I was sad some of the shots didn't make in.
I know there were so many good ones that like, so I think that was the most challenging element. Was just the sheer amount of footage because you shot for 4 days and had 3 hour-long interviews, and so I think there's always that kind of like, is there something better? Like, did we pick the best shot? Did we pick the best scene even?
Yeah.
And so working through that was definitely not a struggle, but like definitely a process to really hone in on both what's the story that's being told by these interviews.
Yeah.
Are we hitting the mark? We also had like a time constraint that we were trying to fit within of, the client wanted it around 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
And actually I think originally they wanted it to be 90 seconds.
Okay.
So yeah, I think originally the client had wanted it to be 90 seconds, which we found and we knew that there was some flexibility in that going in. Yeah. And so when we got to the editing room, we were finding it was really hard to, with the organicness of the interviews, string something cohesive that kind of hit all of these pillars that the Word of Life curriculum needed to kind of have presented.
Well, it's so great about that is one really, really strong benefit we have as all sort of like often internet forward filmmaking.
Yeah.
Is often there is some flexibility.
So
it's not like broadcast or something like that.
Yeah, and I think we landed around 2 minutes and change.
What's the final runtime? Let's check it out. 204.
Yeah, so right around 2 minutes.
That's the luxury of the internet.
Yeah, it was so nice. I mean, and it just really allowed us to kind of tie a bow on it.
Yeah.
And hit all of those necessary elements that the Augustine Institute wanted conveyed in the video. But yeah, I mean, I think it turned out really well. I'm happy with it. I think there's always that, are the actors that we picked going to be good? Are we going to be able to get
it's
a good
so
enough
tough
like
on this 4-day thing too.
Yeah.
But I will say your main actor, I don't think the character has a name, but the main actor, the main kid is really good, has really good camera presence.
Yeah, he did good. He definitely like warmed up, and I just think everyone brought a different flair. The dad was really able to kind of like, oh yeah, come on kids, let's do, and
great.
kind of take command of
Rally
his
everybody
family,
together.
which was cool to see. And I think one of the neat elements, kind of going back to that, like the hybrid that we did, is like the people we interviewed are real authentic people, and we had them interacting with our actor family.
I thought that was
like
cool.
it really kind of helped bridge the gap.
That priest specifically, like all those interactions, it was like he was definitely like down to be an actor.
Yeah.
It's
he
really
was
cool.
into
He did a really
it.
good job.
What was his name? Father
Allen. Yeah, he Holy Guardian Angels. Holy Guardian Angels Parish.
Okay.
He apparently has like a I don't know if it's a social media presence, but he does videos for his parish. So he's very familiar and comfortable. And that was one of the things that kind of sold us on that location, was the pastor was gung-ho about us being there and good on camera and willing to step out from his meetings to come, stage some stuff for us. But yeah, I mean, I think we really hit that balance well. We striked a good balance of, if you didn't know, you could probably believe that's a family that attended the parish. And, and that was kind of our hope. Our hope was that there was a person, the little boy, who kind of was a through line.
Yeah.
And interacted with these people that you're hearing about, and interacted with these people that you're hearing from, and hearing their testimony of the impact this program has.
Very cool. Well, good job, guys.
Thank you.
Speaking of impactful programming, if you want more behind the scenes featurettes or anything where we just break down our projects, stay tuned to Heralds and Fools.
Yo.
Does it help if I close my eyes?
I'll stare right at you though.
Yeah, please.